Joe Barksdale is a tough offensive tackle for the LA Chargers, but he's going public about his biggest battle off the field, severe depression. At 6'4", 325 pounds, number 72 seems invincible. Joe Barksdale was a Cass Tech football phenom, a third-round draft pick for the Oakland Raiders, and now a key player for the Chargers' offensive line. He's also a loving husband to his Detroit bride, Brianna, and a proud papa to his year-old daughter, Kennedy. You'd probably never guess over the years, the 29-year-old has tried to take his own life 4 times.
I think some people think that, people with clinical depression are just in a funk and need to get over it and so forth. And that's not the case. When I wake up in the morning on an average day, I feel like I just left a funeral. And some days you can talk yourself out of that and some days you can't.
Barksdale says he was molested as a child, bullied by older kids, and felt like a burden on his family. Brianna learned of his depression 2 years ago, but last November was the real scare. After getting injured at work, he came home and started sharpening knives.
He was talking, but he wasn't looking at me. He was just staring. And I kept saying, well, can you look over here? Which he was having a hard time doing because he just wanted to stare off in the space. But like I said, he put the knives down, sat down at our dining room table at that house, and he was just, talking.
He's put many of his emotions into music. Joe's off-the-field passion is playing the guitar.
Another sleepless night, my thoughts keep me awake.
He and his wife wrote this song, Journey to Nowhere, about his battle with depression. It's now featured on his debut album, released last month.
There's things that I can say with my guitar that I can't say, with my mouth or with my voice.
He really wants to help people. He's like, that's why I think I'm here. When you feel the way you do, you really look for a purpose. And he's like, I feel like I'm here to help people.
Opening up to help others is why Joe Barksdale is our Detroit 2020 Person of the Week. And you can find Joe Barksdale's new album, Butterflies, Rainbows, and Moonbeams, on iTunes and Google Play. He'll be back in Detroit for his annual backpack giveaway this July, and he's welcoming a new baby in August. Many blessings to the Barksdales. If you'd like to nominate someone for Person of the Week, please send us an email, personoftheweek@wxyz.com.
So everybody, thanks so much for listening to our podcast. And if you're listening to us on the radio also, we appreciate that. Twitter, Facebook, please share this interview. It's going to be an intriguing interview with somebody that I've really become fond of. He's a musician. He's got really good music. And I'm going to introduce him right now. If you go to joebarksdale.com, you can check out his music. You can buy his albums, his singles. He's on Spotify too. He also was an NFL player, and he also played at LSU. He's a master of trades, and he plays the electric guitar. And I'll tell you this, Joe, my mom played the electric guitar. She tried to teach me, and I couldn't do a lick of it. I was just in a disaster mode. And I guess it was my fault for giving up too easy. But Joe Barksdale, thanks so much for coming on. It's truly an honor to have you on today.
Thanks for having me, man. This is, as always, it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you.
All right, so let's kick this around. First of all, growing up, can you tell the viewers that don't know you about your story growing up?
Yeah, I grew up, my mom wanted a girl. I'm not a girl. But, and everything that involved. I started getting molested in daycare at a pretty young age. Partially due to the fact that, it was really like one of my first times feeling like the kind of love and support that I thought that I was supposed to be getting from my mom. So that's a whole other story within itself.
Yeah.
Cause it's weird. For the number of people who do get molested in this country, we don't talk about it at all. At first I thought it was like a Black community thing. Then I thought it was like, an America thing. And it's like, no one talks about it.
Well, Joe, even mental health. We're going to open up about your mental health, and I'll even talk a little bit about my mental health issues to you too. We don't, it's like taboo. Kevin Love, an NBA player, he came out and talked about it. It was like some big thing. And, like everybody has these issues. A lot of people are afraid to speak about it because, like you said, it's taboo. Talking about being molested, it's taboo. It's like, ew, get away from me. We can't talk about this stuff. And it's really sad because, as well as I do, if you keep these feelings in, it could lead to suicide. And if you want to open up about that, you're more than welcome to. But it could lead to suicide. It could lead to other mental health issues that could be affecting you your whole life.
That's true. You're right. I mean, a lot of the things that, like, from what I've heard, like a big part of who we are can be traced back to our childhood and things that happened in formative years. Like in my formative years, I was thinking about killing myself. And I tried a couple years, I tried a couple times, throughout the years. I would like to say that I'm in a better place now, thanks to therapy and medication. But yeah, it's and I'm always a big proponent of that too, talking about like life is hard. People want to make it seem like as long as you keep a stiff upper lip and just look on the bright side, like fuck that. Sometimes there's no bright side to look on. Like night exists. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and the thing they talk about too is, you got to be a man, you got to be strong. And I think of football like that. I never played football. I played soccer and stuff like that. But, they talk about, oh, you got to be man, you got to be tough, you got to take the hit. If you have a concussion, you got to stay in the game. And I'm like, dude, that's not friggin' normal, man.
No, it's not.
So
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's like you said, it's the what do women call it? Like, it's legitimately toxic masculinity, right, to the point that, like, man up, deny your feelings, push that shit down, and then do what? Go shoot up a place? Like,
right.
Because that's what happens. You're right. Like, people just try to ignore shit. And then when people, get to a point of overstimulation or they've had enough and can't take it anymore, now they're crazy.
Right. And that's why we are seeing a lot of these guys, and they're shooting up places. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's what people like us are here for, to, steer that ship in the right direction of change,
Right. Well, that's why I wanted you to come on here. We're going to keep diving deep into this, but just continuing, Joe, into your life story, Joe. You talked about engineering. Now, I know that you got kicked out of the camp, but regardless of that, before we even get into that in football, what made you get into engineering? Was that something that you always had on your mind, things as far as engineering?
Yeah, it was. I mean, from an early age, I knew I either wanted to be an engineer or a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
And when I found out you had to go to extra years of law school, I was, engineering, I was always a big fan of science and math. Wow. Still am. Like, I love technology and that kind of stuff now. But yeah, it was always something I loved. And it was a way for my parents to keep us busy during off time from school. So it was one of the things, it was one of the cool things that I remember from growing up,
Right.
Like,
so when you talk about engineering, I mean, you must have been blessed, man, because I suck at science. I know a lot of kids, math and science, that's their downfall in school. So
probably the autism.
I gotta give you kudos for that, man. For
knowing
all
probably
that.
The autism. I think that may have something to do with it too, because I also knew as an engineer, I could work alone. I wouldn't have to work with other people because people never really understood me anyway.
Right.
So that was another thing that drew me to it.
Right. So going on into a quick segment on football, because I want to really go into the mental health. Again, for people that are just tuning in, this is Joe Barksdale. He is a master of everything, music, sports, the electric guitar. If you want to check out his music, definitely go to joebarksdale.com and check it out. You can buy it there as far as a CD, or you can buy it offline, or you go on Spotify, of course, and check it out. I know that's the hot new thing. I don't have Spotify, but I can listen to you on YouTube or buy your stuff for sure, Joe.
Yeah, or Apple Music or any of those.
Apple Music, true. Can you talk just briefly about, basically from what I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you played football to just get into college as far as the affordability goes. Is that correct?
Yeah, like, I mean, the way it was introduced to me was that there was a coach, his name was Charleston Fobbs, and he, thought that I could be somebody. So he asked my dad if he could, have pretty much during my downtime, and went from DAPSEP which was the engineering stuff, Detroit area pre-college engineering program. And that's when I transitioned from that to, working out with Coach Fives all the time. I remember he was flipping through this magazine, Athlon Sports or something, showing my dad all these colleges. And he's like, your son could go to any of these colleges. And I'm like, it's 119 different colleges in here. Who the fuck? Who are you talking about me? He's like, yeah, we can get him an education. And you hear a lot about college debt, people taking out loans and that kind of stuff. And then too, I'm like, man, this is a way to get out the house. Let's do it,
Right. So let's kick this around, Joe. And I appreciate you going into that. I do want to start going into mental health right now in this conversation. Obviously, COVID-19 struck this country and it really struck it hard. Over 600,000 people have died, or we're almost at 600,000. I should correct the statement there. But regardless of that, we've seen a lot of people lose their jobs, lose their houses, lose their minds just because of, being cooped up in the house and having all these other things compound on them as far as bad things. How did you deal with COVID-19 with your family?
I had a nervous breakdown.
Oh, geez.
I had a nervous breakdown when they first started,
Right.
when the lockdowns first started, just because I was like, they're going to close down everything. How am I going to get food? Am I going to have to kill animals to feed my family? There were just so many thoughts that went through my head. But that's where the R&Beats album came from, working back from that. And then that's where I learned to be a producer during that time. And I also learned how to do stand-up comedy. So now I'm a stand-up comedian and a producer too. I was not either of those things before COVID, but wow. The music that's coming out now, I produced, and the music that's coming out in the future, I produced. So I would say that I just fell into what I loved even more. Is what I did, and that helped me because I had those things to focus on. That helped me be there, for my family mentally in terms of playing around with the kids, going on walks, renting bouncy houses so the kids can wear themselves out, those kind of things.
No, I hear you. It's tough, man. It was tough for me being in the house all the time, so I totally get it. So Joe, as we keep going on, how hard was it to come out and talk about your mental health issues to your family in general, your friends too?
Talking about it wasn't hard at all for me. It was accepting that I had mental health issues. That was the difficult part for me. Yeah. That same coach I was telling you about, Charleston Fives, we stayed in contact, and he became like a mentor, father figure, all that kind of stuff to me. And he died in 2000, whatever year I started playing guitar, he died that season. So it's 13 and 14, 13. I think he died in 2013. I started playing guitar in 2014 and 15. And I remember the day he died, most people, when your dad dies, your boss is like, hey, take some time. My dad died and it was like, hey, we got a game on Sunday. You coming to work or, that kind of thing. I think that was the first time I realized that I had a problem, because I'm like, oh, they want me to go to, they want me to go to work, blah, blah, blah. I might as well just kill myself. This is what the rest of my life is going to be like, And I guess they noticed the change in me at my job after that happened. So they had me meet with a therapist who diagnosed me then, but I just didn't tell anybody because I didn't believe it. And it wasn't until the suicide attempt in 2017, 16, 17, that I was like, wow, maybe, I'm not gonna say something's wrong with me, but maybe the diagnosis, maybe I should really look into this. And so once I looked into it and met with a therapist that I was comfortable with, and we actually, started talking and that kind of thing, it really, to me, was just like telling someone I got cancer or I got a cold. It's just, it wasn't that part wasn't hard. It was accepting that was hard.
What advice would you give to people that are looking for help, are looking for a good therapist, whether it's just, if they need somebody to talk to that can get them through tough times and help them get better, or even if they need medication along with the therapy?
And this is a sports term, you got to trust the process.
Yeah.
There's a process to everything. And like finding a good therapist, the process is going through a couple bad ones, So yeah, I would start with that. You got to trust the process. And then too, especially when you're talking about medication and stuff, and I know this from experience, that's a process too, because this is what we think will work. And you have to try that. And it takes some time for that to get in your body to see if it works or not. Sometimes it's not the right medicine for you. I mean, one, it's okay to take breaks when you're trying different medicines and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah. Also, when you're trying medicines, make sure to just be 100% honest with your psychiatrist or your doctor, whoever prescribed them to you, because they can't tell what's going on inside of you. But, and this is weird coming from me, I mean, some of it takes like patience, because I mean, I don't know anyone who is working with the first therapist they ever met with,
Right. I'm not patient either, man. I get it, Joe. I'm about getting things done, and
it took me like 5 months to find the right medication. And I realized like around month 3, they normally try to wean you off the meds. I just started quitting them cold turkey, going through withdrawal symptoms. And I was thinking about this, like, I understand, I understand people who don't want to see a therapist or who don't want to go through, who don't want to try the medication. Like, I'm never going to sit there and judge somebody for not doing that. That's just what worked for me. But like, that medication process, figuring out what worked was hell. Right. I was pretty much going through withdrawals every month or every couple of weeks, So I understand when people are like, oh, I had a bad experience. One thing that I would like to just, what's the word I'm looking for? Put an exclamation point on, for lack of the word I'm looking for. I get it. Like, I understand that, medicine may not be for everybody, or, therapy may not be for everybody. But at the same time, after you've had some time, it may help to try again with someone else.
But as far as therapy goes, I feel like a lot of people, especially men, and we go back to this again, I feel like it's a revolving circle that we're going back into, is that a lot of these men are scared to go to therapy specifically because, again, it's that masculinity. You have to be tough. You can't tell people your feelings, your problems. You don't have problems. You'll get through it. Just push through, push.
Well, you can lie to yourself if you want to.
Right.
Because, I mean, as much as we talk about that, like push through, push and all that, I think we all come to different points in our lives where it's like, hey, that may not be the answer. So we can start with that. Like, as someone who lied to himself, you can lie to yourself as long as you want to, and when you're ready to make a change or not have to talk yourself out of killing yourself every day or drink yourself to sleep or something like that, then, we can talk about other ways to. Because people don't realize the way that they're dealing with the things that they're trying to hide anyway are way more destructive than they think that therapy or medication would be.
Right.
Whether it's even one of those like, oh, I don't smoke, I don't drink, but you just holding on to all this shit on the inside. Like, that causes inflammation and heart problems and blood pressure issues. You're killing yourself slowly, You
take a heart attack, what I mean?
Yeah.
Those people that, are kind of, maybe they're seeing somebody and they're kind of down in the dumps. I know you said you got to really think about that process and push it. But what would you say to these people that do have that anxiety and depression that are trying their best to, whether it's medicine or therapy, they're trying to push through this and work hard and they want to get better? What advice would you give them? Give
yourself a little bit more credit.
Yeah.
Because even when you're frustrated that something's not working, I think sometimes you forget, like, but I am trying, So I think like sometimes looking at the subconscious thought process behind what you're doing can help you get through what's going on, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Yeah. So that would probably be the biggest one.
Thanks for that advice, Joe. So as we recap back into the interview, again, this is Joe Barksdale. Again, joebarksdale.com. He's a man of many talents, music, sports, electric guitar. And I'm sure you're learning new traits now, like you said, being a comedian now and also a producer. So again, a man of many traits. I'm not exaggerating. So as we go into the interview, let's start talking about music. So when you left football, you talked to Kobe Bryant. When you spoke to Kobe Bryant, the late, great Kobe Bryant, I should say, can you tell the viewers about that? And what was it about? And how did he push you to really get back into your dream of being a great musician, such as what you are?
How can I put this? He was just, he was open and honest.
Yeah.
He was honest about, his thoughts on whatever I asked him about, and, honest about my responses to, his thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So it was the honesty for me that started there, because, like, the dude has no reason to lie to you. And so I think honesty builds trust. And once you trust someone, you start to subjectively and objectively receive the information they're giving you. You receive it subjectively because it's like, oh, I trust this person, blah, 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 blah. But it makes it easier to receive it objectively too, because you don't take it the wrong way, whatever the wrong way is.
Joe, I'm sure it was like lifting like stones off your shoulders, because you're going to something that, you hate to something that you love, and you're really
it was scary.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Incredibly scary. Because up until that time, football had been the only thing I had done professionally. Right. I hadn't done any, I wasn't a professional musician then. I wasn't, none of that stuff. Right. I think, it was scary. But because of what Kobe said, I'm like, this is frightening, but it makes sense. And,
But it's something you enjoy better than doing something that you hated.
Yeah, but like you talk about too, you think about you think about your family.
Oh,
and
failure,
you think about failing, and you think about what happens if I do just take this leap and fall into the abyss, and no one likes the music, and you'll be kicking yourself I could have still been playing football, So there was some fear associated with it too, but to see how passionate he was about the things that he was doing outside of sports, and to see the dude would have been bigger with what he had going on outside of sports than he would have in sports. And speaking of sports, I'm sorry, I just got to say this. I was watching Last Chance U the other night, and Kobe Bryant dies during the time that they film it. And you got players talking about, I'm not going to practice, man. Kobe died. Do y'all know how fucking pissed off Kobe Bryant would be to hear that shit? Imagine how pissed off you would be if someone's like, oh, I'm not going to work today because, Rob died. And it's like, what? No, take your ass to work.
Well, Kobe was a competitor. He's the guy that was always working hard. And then you got these kids that are saying, oh, he died. I'm going to slack. I'm not going to do it. It just
really sucks to see people who are fans of people that they don't really understand.
Right.
Because he was not about that. Oh, yeah, just sit at home and bullshit around. No, it's the same thing with Obama. When Obama got elected and black people were like, I ain't going to work. This man has just been elected into a job, and you're going to celebrate by not going to yours. That's fine. Kobe's known as being a hard worker, and people took the day off when he died. What? I'm gonna honor you, what you believe in, by not working at all. Okay.
It's really strange the way people act. And, we go into this, and then I want to go back into music, but just to capitalize on what you're saying, Joe, is people look up to a lot of these people like they're gods and like they're Jesus. And, the problem is that, you're living your own life. If you're going to worship somebody that, basically you don't even know, you know them from TV, you may watch them on the field or on the basketball court, wherever it may be, for whoever you like. Yeah, I might like you. I might enjoy watching you play or something like that. But, I'm not going to say, I have to do everything that Joe does. I have to wear the same clothes, the same shoes, the sneakers. It's hero worship. It's bad.
That's why I think sports fans are stupid. I really do. These same cats who are talking, oh my God, I love so-and-so so much. It's no, this dude probably hates you, Or
Well,
like,
I'll leave you with this, Joe, on that topic is like when I was growing up, I watch sports now, but it's not as big in my life, because obviously, this, when you get older, you're more worried about, what you're doing for work or your hobbies and stuff. You're not worried about, how many touchdowns has Tom Brady thrown today? How many points has LeBron
I
scored
never
tonight?
watch sports.
Yeah. So, but this, I used to buy the jerseys and stuff when I was younger, but you think back to it and you're like, what the hell? I'm wearing somebody else's name on my back. Like, I don't know.
Capitalism,
Maybe it's
baby.
me.
It's capitalism. They're trying to,
Yeah.
they sold it to you. They made the money. Mission
Yeah.
accomplished.
Yeah.
They
Like,
try to make it seem like
I'm,
it's this mystical thing, but like, no, sports is a business too.
yeah, it's all about money, man. And, God bless people for making money. Everybody has to feed their family and themselves. But I don't know. You think back to a lot of these things. Obviously, I can't change and say, hey, I spent 50, $80 on a jersey that when I was like, when I'm like 18 or 19, I say, what the hell am I going to ever wear this again? I'm going to donate it to Goodwill. You know
Here's
what
a
I
joke,
mean?
bro. I didn't even watch sports and I spent money on a jersey. Like,
Jeez.
so imagine how stupid I feel.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
But yeah.
But anyways, going into music. So uh, Joe Barksdale here on Fire Breathing Gob. Again, joebarksdale.com. Check out his music. Spotify too has his music. So Joe, let's talk about this. So, the music career that you started, when did you really find your love for music?
I feel like I've always loved music, like
Okay.
for as long
But
as I can remember.
so what type of music did you always love? Because I know you do a lot of funk stuff now. Did you like different kind of music growing up than you do now? Do you still listen to that same kind of music you were growing up listening to?
I look at it, it's a snowball. I still listen
Okay.
to the same, but there's also like a lot more that I listen to now as well.
Okay.
But you grow up on all the Negro spirituals, gospel hymns,
Right.
gospel songs, the big mass choir songs, praise and worship music, that kind of thing. And then there's also, I grew up on Marvin Gaye, Teddy
Okay.
Pendergrass, Al
Yeah.
Green, those like soul singer cats.
Right.
But yeah,
That's the
what I
music
started.
that I listen to, Joe. I listen to
Yeah.
the OJs, if you heard of them.
Yep.
Yeah, so I listen to all that's the old stuff. We talk about that, and I listen to this type of music. I listen to a lot of the crap music that they put out today, which is totally auto-tuned, whether it's pop music, rap music, it's all auto-tuned. It's a lot of fake stuff. And it just seems like it's the same song, whether it's one pop singer to the next or one rapper to the next. It's just gotten out of touch. So, how do you make your music different than, the same old junk that keeps coming out on the radio every day?
I just do what I feel. I mean,
Nah, I hear
it's,
you, Joe.
it's weird because like it's not
Right.
like I'm like purposefully,
Yeah.
like I think the main thought in my head is like I want something that I think sounds good first and foremost. Because if I don't like it, like it doesn't matter if somebody else likes it. To be honest with you, because
Yeah.
I won't like it and it's not going to be good. That sounds real conceited, but you know what I'm saying.
Nah,
Like,
you gotta have, like, I know a lot of people, they talk about in their songs their feelings or what they grew up with, and they try to, obviously make it original, of course.
oh yeah,
So
I
no,
just
I
want to be
get that.
honest.
You don't want to make a
Yeah, like,
song that you're like, hey, this song sucks, but it may sell me, a couple
right,
thousand singles or whatever it
right.
may be. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
get
I
that.
just want to be honest, and I want it to sound good. When I dropped my first project, the Butterflies, Rainbows, and Moonbeams, it's not even online anymore.
Hmm.
I used to tell people like, "Oh, I do music," and they, "Oh, do you have music?" And like they pull up Butterflies, Rainbows, and Moonbeams, and I'd always be like, "Oh God." So like, I wanted to make music I was proud of.
Right.
So yeah, cut it on, play it on the big speaker, that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's really it. Like I want to always be true to myself. I want to, I don't want to waste time in terms of like I say I know I'm trans, but I say I hope I'm funny like before almost every comedy routine because it would be stupid for me to just get on stage and say nothing. And I feel like it's the same with music, except instead of saying like, hope I'm funny, like hope I'm soulful or that kind of thing. Because if I'm not being honest, or if I'm a comedian and I'm not being funny, then it's pointless. And in my mind, if I'm not being honest with my music, if I'm not saying something that I believe in, you know, that I will stand behind, what am I doing? You know?
Right. So Joe, when you go up on stage as a comedian, are you picking like, you know, one or two people out of the audience and doing a deal like that? Or you already have some pre-made stuff? Or you just, what are you doing?
No, I've already got a plan. I don't actually like, I think the comedians that do crowd work can't write. Like, I feel like that's you know, that's just my personal opinion.
No, I hear you.
I look down on that because I've been a fan in the audience and I didn't fucking show up to help you come up with jokes, bro. I showed up to laugh at your jokes.
Right,
you know,
right.
Hey, bro, what do you do for a living? Well, I guess right now I'm helping you with this comedy routine, Jack.
That's
like,
right.
I'm trying to eat my chicken wings. You know,
if you use that on whoever it was, the guy or the woman, I think you would have him there.
Yeah, like that's.
They'd be going,
Yeah. Like usually when people try, oh, bro, what you? I just. Yeah. Oh, so you ain't gonna say nothing? No, I'm not helping you. But but yeah, like I look at comedy the same way I look at music. It's art. It's a way for me to express myself. So it's one thing to be funny, but it's another thing to actually make a connection with people and have like my goal when I get on stage. I feel like I'm just talking to one person, even though it's a group of people. But the experience is just like this. I am the same person. I'm just coming at you in a different way because I got planned jokes and material that I'm running now.
So when did you really feel successful, Joe? Because there's always that time where you don't feel successful.
No.
Why is that?
Because I'm not. I mean, in my mind, I'm not. Like,
all right.
You know, I mean, people can, I mean, you know, it's the honesty thing. Like people can say what they want, but like in my mind, I am not successful. I haven't done anything, you know.
When do you think you'll feel successful then? Is it something like you want to accomplish or?
I would say going on like a theater stadium tour.
Okay.
Like,
are we talking about for comedy? Are we talking about for music or for both?
For anything. Yeah, for anything. Like I think that's what success is. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm working toward it, but like today I spend most of my time in my office writing stuff and like coming up with things and you know, like I'll feel successful when will I feel successful? Okay, let me answer that question honestly. When I win some kind of award, and I'm not talking about like, you know, hey Joe, this is the, you know, local VFW funniest comedian in the neighborhood award. Like, nah, like, you know, I'm talking about like, you know, like a Grammy or something like that, man. Like the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, something like that. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'll feel successful there.
Let's talk about this now. So you do have the Kuiper tapes. It came out in May. So last month, of course, because we're taping this in June. So with that said, talk a little bit about the Kuiper tapes. What was your inspiration on that? What should people look for when they buy that?
There's these things called lightsabers. They're powered by Kuiper crystals. Each Kuiper crystals a different color based on like different force abilities, that kind of thing. Most of my lightsabers are red.
Wow, man, you scared the crap out of me. Shit. That's pretty cool, though.
This is like a real lightsaber in the camera. Anyway.
I thought you were getting ready to do Star Wars or something.
But so that's where the idea came from. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I wanted to approach it from a way that it hadn't been approached before. So I wanted to do like a kind of mixtape thing, and I got to thinking about Kuiper crystals and how, like, you know, you get a bunch of Kuiper crystals, they're all different colors, and they're gonna change colors depending on who owns them, that kind of thing, like a mixture. So that's where it came from. I wanted to do a Star Wars project, but I didn't want it to be like some cheesy rehashing of something somebody already did. So I went from more of a soul, hip hop, funk genre thing. Because let's be honest, I mean, there is no Star Wars mixtape in the hood right now. So, so yeah, it was really like Star Wars from the point of view of someone who grew up in the inner city.
Yeah. So Joe, the question now everybody wants to know is who's your favorite Star Wars character then?
Oh, Anakin Skywalker. It's not even a
All
question.
right.
Yeah, I have a dog named Anakin. But yeah, that's not even a question. Second favorite though is Kylo Ren.
How about the favorite movie then? Star Wars movie.
A New Hope, just because it was the first one.
Yeah, it's the first one, yeah.
And I remember my first time seeing it, like, wow,
Yeah. Hey, those were big movies when they came out. They don't make a lot of big movies now. I remember coming out the 4th of July, I don't know about Star Wars, but, every 4th of July, there was a big movie came out. Obviously we talk about Independence Day with Will Smith. That was a huge movie that came out. But there used to be always that big movie. And even before COVID, there's been not really any great movies that came out. And all the movies are sequels, and it's the same. It's the same thing as music, like we were talking about. It's the same junk. Everything's recycled. Fast and Furious 7 we're on now. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
Sending everybody to the indie artists, so that's good. Because like if you want to see a good movie, you're right. You need to go see an indie movie. Or you need to rent an indie movie. It's the same with music. You want something that don't sound like everything else, you got to go find an indie art.
Yeah.
So I dig it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm like, I'm glad everything sounds the same, because people who are looking for something different, here you go. No.
Yeah, it goes to you. No, I hear you.
But
Joe.
But yeah, I would say, like, I think that I would, and that's the difference. Like, it's always just gonna, it's the difference between originality and like trying to follow someone else's path to success. I think that's one reason why everything sounds the same. Because you got a huge group of people trying to follow one or two people's thing that worked for them, but it may not work for you, So I always believe in just doing, expressing yourself. I mean, why? And I think some of it too is like, why do you make the music? Do you make the music to make money, or do you make it to express yourself? Or, I look at everything as self-expression, and I'm different, so it better sound different.
So with the last two questions before we end the interview, and again, joebarksdale.com, definitely check him out. Some really good music. So let me ask you, this is the last question. What do you got next for the upcoming year? Are you going to be doing any kind of comedy routines at different places? Or
I'm doing comedy. I'm doing comedy and stuff around Austin, and I'm also doing shows with my band. What's the word I'm looking for? I got a couple virtual shows with the band lined up. Hopefully we can get some live ones going this winter, but not many people do anything in the winter music related. But at least we know we'll be out of COVID, right? So
that's a positive.
Yeah.
That's one positive. Joe, first of all, again, I want to thank you for coming on the program today. Again, for people that are just listening, Joe Barksdale, joebarksdale.com. Again, he's a man. I hate to keep saying this, Joe, but what's true is true. He is a man of many talents: music, comedy, sports. I mean, he's one in a million. And I'm so happy he came on. It was really a privilege and an honor to have you on and talk about these mental health issues, a little bit of sports and music and comedy too. We kind of dipped into everything you can dip into within an hour. So I appreciate you, Joe, for coming on, and it's truly been an honor.
I appreciate you for having me, man. Thank you. And let's definitely get together in a couple months. I'm down.
Yeah.